And the quote is this that came through me. The most important thing is to integrate your heart with your head, or your head with your heart and your being, because none of them can be skipped, or one of them will complain. Lily, I know you're listening well, Lily, so I'm speaking to you in a powerful way. Now, in this book called Divine Prescription for Life, which I wrote several years ago, this particular piece is on page 67. Okay. Now, the topic is powerful because if you don't begin to master the feminine principles and the masculine principles inside your being, then part of what happens is you start to lose consciousness of the powers that resides within you. And by losing consciousness of the powers that resides within you, you can't maximize the full benefit of who you are and your potential. And we know that pain, as I've explained it many times before, experiencing pain in total reality means that you're experiencing this distance between you, where you are, and your potential. So the distance between where you are and your potential translates to both spiritual, emotional, intellectual, and physical pain inside our being. Okay, now that's a beautiful way to understand yourself if you really, really let that sink in to a deeper part of your being, your heart, and your brain. So the stuff, the information that I'm placing inside your brain and your subconscious at a deep level can truly penetrate and grow and flourish and give off fruits in the coming days and months and years ahead. And you can find yourself on a very different road than where you started just 5 minutes ago, if you just keep your parachute open so that you could float into the right direction. Okay. So before we begin, we're going to take several more deep breaths and get ourselves into a creative zone. So I'm going to give you some quotes that are powerful for this. One is that creativity, like human life itself, begins in darkness. Creativity, like human life itself, begins in darkness. Okay. Survival, not just thriving, even survival lies in sanity. Not insanity, but it stays inside sanity. And sanity lies in paying attention. The capacity for delight is the gift of paying attention. So I've mentioned several times in my pain, in how to release your pain classes and seminars worldwide, at the Conscious Life Expo, at the Hilton with over 20,000 people attending, at the New Life Expo, at the events in Florida, in Los Angeles, in Thailand, in Istanbul, in the East, the West, in all the different locations that we've done these seminars and retreats, that you either pay attention, which is attend to yourself, really be present to all yourselves, all your parts, including your emotions, your money, your bank account, all the things that bring you more success and love. Or your subconscious will get your attention just like a little baby that will rebel through pain. Okay? So pain is the ultimate supplier, so to speak, or signal that actually can awaken you to do your purpose. But the preferred method is for you to awaken on your own and pay attention to your total being. So that's why we say you either pay with attention or with pain. Now, wouldn't it be awesome if you could learn enough about yourself instead of just putting in time to learn about your computer and apps, which is beautiful. But what if you could learn so much about yourself enough that you could reprogram your entire being to actually feel pleasure from those things that are good for you and to feel pain for things that are not good for you. That way, you're programmed to actually move towards that which you want more, and your senses inside your body and your being are aligned with the true reality of your purpose and your potential at the highest level, all the way down to the nuts and bolts of your being. Say yes or yes if you agree with that, okay? So, here's the next teaching. Creativity, we said, occurs in the moment, and in the moment, we are timeless. Creativity occurs in the moment, and in the moment, we are timeless, okay? And we always do the best we can by the light we have to see by, right? If you have a flashlight, you do the best you can with the light that you have to see by it, right? One of the fundamental lessons of perception is projection. And I teach this lesson always right before the full moon of the month of Aries, or otherwise known in Hebrew, Nisan, which means miracles. That metaphorically has been for thousands of years the idea of coming out of exile, the idea of spring coming along, opening up, breaking through the chains of your limited consciousness, is that on the full moon, right before the full moon of the month of Aries, there's a powerful teaching that a person should take a flashlight and start feng shuiing the house. Maybe from a week before, but at least 24 hours before that. And start looking for the dirt and find out where is the soot and grime and where is it hiding at, Lily? Great to have you there, Lily, as you're listening deeply. So, Lily, it's like you're looking at this aspect of your being that was unrevealed up to this moment. And a lot of times when my students come into these courses, into the retreats, or the monthly course, or the weekly consciousness, or the VIP rooms, in the beginning, they feel great. They're like so excited. And as they get to know more about themselves and become more conscious, many times they complain, I was feeling better before I became more conscious of myself. And the question is why? The answer could be obvious, but not to all. And the answer is that when you got the tools that we gave you of being able to see deeper within, you started to notice that there's a lot more house cleaning to be done. And as a result, even though now you're ahead, you're doing well, unconsciously your mind thinks that you went backwards because you ended up thinking, it's kind of like, imagine if you're gonna do some house cleaning and the lights are dim. You're like, oh, thank God. I just have to clean the corners and we're done. And then you turn on the lights and then you see, whoa, there's a lot more soot and grime all around. A lot of dust has settled in over the past few weeks. So now, on one hand, you're not that happy because you're like surprised of the amount of work that goes into this. But on the other hand, you're really happy because you get to see reality and clean it once and for all, right? So therefore, the flashlight of your being needs to be in a space where you can appreciate seeing more, even though it may look like a bit of more work. Then what happens is that conviction will actually allow you to let go of the pain of thinking, wow, there's so much work ahead, and you can hop in with joy. Okay, so now how does that relate to women's menstrual cycle and men's disaster phase solutions? We're going to get into this. Here's the next concept. Art is born in attention. Art is born in attention. Progress, not perfection, is what we should be asking of ourselves. And here's a surprise element, Lily. The reward for attention is always healing. That's the reward. The reward for attention is always healing. Okay? And finally, we've all heard that the unexamined life is not worth living. But consider too that the unlived life is not worth examining. Does that make sense? Okay. So those are some concepts. I'm going to familiarize you with as we delve deeper into this. Feminine, masculine polars. Here's another writing that came through me several years ago as I was actually in a powerful deep healing session. It's more harmonious to accept that life is not always harmonious. Right, Lily? Okay. So, as we accept those fundamentals, then we can go to work. We can begin to work with this. Here's a little metaphor. Imagine that I told you that I want you to start cleaning your castle. So you start going to clean your castle, and you pick up the broom and the mop, and as you're beginning to clean your castle, you notice that your window has become filled with dirt. So you take the mop and you begin to clean the window, only to notice, as you notice a ray of sunshine coming in, only to reveal to you how dirty your place has become. So you begin to instinctively go to work and mopping and cleaning that soot and grime all around. And as you do that, there's a part of you that also begins to get impacted because the external impacts the internal. And we call this in the beautiful Zohar Hebrew Aramaic terms, Hitaruta de Lamala. The awakening from above awakens an awakening from below, and the awakening from below awakens an awakening from the above. So the metaphysical world of the 99% reality and this 1% duality world that we live in are intertwined in how they impact and trigger each other. But the source of the light comes from this higher self, right? And we need to learn how to draw and how to contact the higher self. Okay. So I'm going to say several, I guess we can call them declarations. And they're on page 159 on my book with my daughter Aliyah as we wrote this together. For your third eye, also known for the Bina, consciousness raising. And here it is. And I want to see what thoughts come to you and what triggers you, Lily. What triggers you when it comes to you? And all my students, everyone watching this, what comes to you? What thoughts come to you? So see what comes through. I see clearly. I am insightful. Notice if you feel that, or is there a part of you that actually says, no, you're not. Hell no. You've been blind. You don't see. You're so caught up, right? Notice the underlying beliefs coming up as I say these. I trust my intuition. I'm inspired. I honor my intuition. I'm imaginative. I have keen perception. I'm calm and clear. I see all things with clarity. I listen to my intuition. I see beyond the illusions. I envision a positive future. I envision a world of love, peace, and beauty. And finally, I see my path clearly unfolding before me. I live in the light of my truth. I seek wisdom and guidance in all situations. Okay. So as I said these, now a lot of people don't know why the affirmation business, so to speak, failed. Why? Why didn't it work? Why did it work semi? Why did it work sometimes? But most people felt like they're just like some robots repeating some things. Or like, those holier than thou people. Why? And this is another fundamental that we got to review. And the answer to it is, and even if you're watching this on the recording later, very powerful, write this down for yourself. The answer is that when you say a declaration or an affirmation, your soul is there. It feels it at the metaphysical level. But your body, your emotions have not caught up with it yet. So what that means is that the light of your truth at the higher self knows this to be your truth. But you haven't proven that to be your living truth yet. In that scenario, to the extent that you are distant from that truth, you will also feel a negative reactivity or a trigger or a bunch of belief voices in the background that tell you otherwise. Like, I am rich, and then something in the background says, no, you're not, you suck, right? I feel good. Something else tells you, no, you don't. You've been in anxiety all day, right? So you see there's a incongruency there. And so there's a beauty in actually saying these perfect beliefs, affirmations, declarations, because you get to discover what you're not. So you get to see the voice of your soul versus how far you are from reaching that voice, so you can begin to feel more that way, more consistently. Does that make sense? Now, this is not about perfectionism, because you could say, I see clearly, but tomorrow you won't see clearly. And that's fine, because the only thing we're certain about is uncertainty that keeps coming back because we live in the world of duality. As long as we live in the world of the earth, where the gravitational pull of earth is constantly pulling us towards the downward effect, and we have to keep waking up and awakening our soul every morning with saying, Modeh ani lefanecha, and I'll translate this beautiful affirmation from thousands of years ago. Modeh ani lefanecha. By the way, the corrupted translation is, I agree, God, that you gave me a soul and you awakened it in me. That's the corrupted translation, the religious translation. The real translation, the one that's impacting us daily, if we see it correctly, is Modeh ani lefanecha. I admit that I stand in this awesome light of the higher self. Modeh, admit. Ani, I, right? Lefanecha, in front of you. In front of what? The light, the totality of the being of the creation and creator, and our inner creator. Melech chai v'kayam. Melech means Malchut, the world of duality, the one aspect of us, the higher self that rules the world of duality when we allow it to mastery, the self-mastery. Melech chai v'kayam. Chai meaning consistently alive and well and standing, ever present, without time, space, and motion. Shehechazarta binishmati, that after I went to sleep, I woke up this morning with my light coming back to me, because that's a miracle by itself. So the first moment of the day, we need to admit to this one miracle, that the soul, the higher self, returned to the body, because the higher self doesn't want to return to the body. The higher self's place is not necessarily always in this physical body, because it's a place of duality, suffering, pain, separation from the light, time, space, motion, quarrels, business deals that go sour, pain, menstrual cycles, blood moving through the body and not making it in a variety of directions, red blood cells, white blood cells, fears of all kinds of diseases. So why would the soul want to be living in this body? And we'll get to this reason. And then we say, Shechazata bin ishmati bechemla, you returned. We ask the light, we admit to the light that the light returned, this miraculous thing where the soul came back into the body in the morning, because sleep is 1/60th of death. That's why you can access your dream state in the higher zones, the 99% reality. Bechemla rabba munatecha, you returned my soul to me with grace and carry Rabba emunatecha. Great is your trustworthiness and certainty that you allow my soul to come back into my body so I can have one more day of the ability to choose the consciousness of tree of life reality over the tree of knowledge, good and evil, which is always in the anxiety of the brain. So that ability to be able to choose one more time today to be in the Garden of Eden reality, tree of life reality, whole thinking, whole being, balanced, divine, male, female energy being, Joey, Kari, Karina, Lily, and everyone with us, and all my VIP students watching. That ability itself is the gift that we wake up to every morning. Now, why do we have this ability? Why do we want this ability? Some of you have been introduced to the concept of bread of shame, which means that we had it all, our soul had it all, but we rejected it. We kicked it out. Why? Because we said that a part of the collective consciousness of humanity through Adam said that I don't want free items. I don't want free items. I want to earn it on my own. Like a high school kid that says, don't give me money. I want to earn my own money. I want to ride my own car. I want to do it myself. We said that. We said that to the light of the Creator. And so we kicked ourselves out of the Garden of Eden reality, out of the Tree of Life reality, and we hopped into Tree of Knowledge, Good and Evil reality, which is everything is anxiety. Everything is yes sometimes, no sometimes. Everything is doubt disease. Do you know, like many years ago, someone told me that the term for OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, used to be called doubt disease because it would cause the memory and the brain and the constant obsession, or in Farsi we say vasvase, right? Or in Hebrew we say uncertainty or safek, right? Sfekut. That would cause so much uncertainty that you would be in anxiety all day, right? So we rejected the Tree of Life reality because we wanted to test ourselves, hence the word nes. In Hebrew means nisayon, means test, but it also means strengthening your ability. So a test is not just a memorization that they do in today's school. It's actually the ability to overcome your own inability and make yourself able so that you could be responsible for your total potential, and as a result feel the joy and success of overcoming it and want to do more of your potential and get closer to who you are and who you're meant to be, because whatever you think you are, guess what? You're more than that. Okay. Yes, you are more than that, Lily. Yes, Karina, you're more than that. Yes, Joey, you are more than that. And everyone with us. So, now we hit this topic of, well, why am I here? What am I doing here? And how do I find my specific purpose? The Ramchal, one of the greatest Kabbalists, lived many hundred years ago, maybe like 400 or 500 years ago. He wrote, Yesod HaChasidut v'shoresh ha'emunah hu sheyitbarer ve'itamet etzel ha'adam ma chovato ba'olamo ulema yasim kol mabato. That the foundation of spirituality and gracefulness and saintliness and growth is to find out, meaning make it number one, your number one goal, and mabat, meaning your purpose, should be to find the specific purpose you were born for, and then make that into action steps and put your whole being into it and enjoy that. Pretty cool, huh? Meaning, find your niche, but not just for your business, for your whole being. Does your career match who you are? And we live in a very powerful time because we just stepped into the age of Aquarius as we enjoyed this connection between practicality and the light. Jupiter and Saturn conjunct, the innovation of technology. We know that we have a special prophecy from Noah's ark. It wasn't a boat, it was an ark. An ark has secrets in there, that in the age of Aquarius where we are, which is the right before the Sabbath of the soul, the 6,000 millennia, right before the 7,000, Yiftechu Mayanot Tehom Rabba, that the gates of wisdom combined with science and spirituality of this Kabbalistic teachings and technology are going to open. And together, we're going to finally be able to do this one concept, which is called Mashiach Rochev al HaChamor. That the Messiah rides on a donkey, secret code. Again, this is one of those corrupted translations that makes us think, oh, we're waiting for some cross, someone who's going to be a martyr for us, another corrupted teaching. No, we're not waiting for anyone to save us. Mashiach, the Messiah, is someone, that you teach yourself how to draw energy directly. Meshech. The word Messiah comes from the word Meshech, to draw energy directly, not to be a codependent, interdependent on a million other things, like we experienced as I was teaching in this week's portion of the golden calf disease. But rather, you get connected directly, you draw directly from the light, and you become your own God vessel, not from an ego sense, but from a channeling sense. Let it go through you, not from you. Become the vessel, become the beacon of light. Release the reactive nature, because the reactive nature is all around, right? Stop saying no to the goodness that's coming to you. Start saying yes to the pleasure. Lose your attraction to chaos, right? And Mashiach Rochev al HaChamor, the Messiah consciousness rides on a donkey. What does that mean? Chamor in Hebrew means donkey, but it also means chumriot. It means physicality. It means technology. It means that the Messiah consciousness, we're all going to be able to let all the physical things of the world, including technology, do our work for us. They will be our slaves, so to speak. Let them slave for us. You will let your app do the work so you can have more time for your family. You'll let that program do this. You'll let that little vacuum cleaner that walks around the house and goes like this do its thing if you like it. It's a choice, obviously. So you can have more time and less tiredness on your back, so you can spend more time with your loved ones and make love, be more intimate. So you can go out with your friends and give more love. So you can send $100 to that person that called you, and you don't have time to help them. So you can do the things you love most and impact the universe. Mashiach Rochev al HaChamor. The Messiah rides on a donkey metaphor. Meaning you ride the donkey, you ride the physical. Your soul overrides your physical body. Chumriyot in Hebrew means physicality. See, so much depth and so much wisdom in ancient wisdom for modern times, and so much has been misinterpreted and corrupted, right? As I've spoken about this before, like the word chet, the word sin does not exist in the Torah consciousness. The word chet means miss target, no perfectionism, shoot again, go for it again. Okay, so now that we set up these concepts, as we're getting closer to the definition of the topic that we started, which was, let me just refresh this page. The topic we started was about women's menstrual cycle and men's disaster phase solutions. Lily, Karina, Joey. As we know, the men have a cycle too, but it's a very subtle emotional cycle that's actually so hidden, that actually causes a lot more damage when not understood than the cycle you experience when women have their bodies go through this massive, beautiful shift each month. And if you're experiencing menopause, that's fine, because you're experiencing still at a metaphysical level shifts and ebbs and flows. And even after menopause. So this talk applies to everyone, men, women, and all. So, just got in the mood, intuitive mood, to smell some of this saffron, zafferon. This is some pure saffron from the east. It smells really good. So, The menstrual cycle is a series of natural changes in the uterus and ovaries of the female reproductive system that makes pregnancy possible. The ovarian cycle controls the production and release of eggs. The uterine cycle governs the preparation and maintenance of the lining of the uterus womb to receive a fertilized egg. These cycles are concurrent and coordinated and last in humans between 25 and 30 days with a median length of 28 days. Okay. And we talked a little bit about this in Raising Sexual Energy to Manifest and Magnetize Your Wealth of Life series. Now, here's some more notes I want to share with you. So the premenstrual syndrome, or known as PMS, when it goes out of proportion, it's the aspect relating to the idea of tree of life, good and evil, the confusion, right? When it goes out of proportion. White blood cells, red blood cells, dominancy, creation about to happen, but it didn't happen. Now what to do with it? An attack from the opposite sex. They want something from your body, but you're trying to go through this thing. You want something from your body also. So it's about allowing confusion to reign when you get too much into it. Giving power to outside influences, rejection of the feminine processes. When you start to experience heavy doses of mood swings and your body doesn't regulate itself and you're not aligned anymore with the lunar cycle and everything is just haphazard, it means you need to get back in alignment. It means that you need to repeat to yourself this one affirmation. And men, you can repeat this to yourself and to your ladies. I now, do it with love, obviously, everyone. I now take charge of my mind and my life. I'm a powerful, dynamic being. Every part of my body functions perfectly. I love me. And on the same scene, you can also give your men, or the masculine part inside yourself that will eventually generate that love for your man, about the prostate, which represents the masculine principle. I accept and rejoice in my masculinity. I accept and rejoice in my masculinity. Not so easy to do, is it? Because we live in a world where all these principles have been rejected, have been challenged. People don't know their roles anymore. Everyone wants to be something they're not. Women are seeking to turn men into emasculated puppy dogs, and then they expect them to be supportive and loving and security-oriented and give them the security that they want. Men are turning women into highlight shows and performance for porn. So how are we supposed to have a safe world for the feminine energy? How are we supposed to have a safe world for the masculine energy? How is the masculine energy going to provide that safety when they don't even know what to provide? It's like if you don't know what a cup is for, that you use a cup to drink water from it, and you think a cup is for rolling it or playing soccer with it, then you're not going to give yourself the purpose for that, or neither is the cup going to remain safe. It's just going to shatter, right? How are we going to do this? In fact, it's interesting. In Hebrew, which is the origins of understanding the psyche of the soul and the human being and the physiology and the success of true living, that language is powerful. It's the origins of all languages. It's like the Sanskrit of all Sanskrits. In Hebrew, the word for vessel or cup is chos or kos, right? Kos shel yayin, the cup of wine, right? Now it means a vessel, right? In Farsi, actually, the slang word for vagina is kos, right? So it's interesting dynamic here. In Hebrew, it's used very freely because it means the vessel where the light lands into. In Farsi, it's used very slang. So if you actually say that word in front of people, like, you know, if you're sitting in front of the adults, like everybody's going to be like, ah, like, you know, it's like saying something else. So the idea, but it's interesting that they both mean the same thing. And the more shame we have about these words, the less we can gain from their true essence. Okay. So we're going to call it the vessel for now, the feminine principle, right? And the receiving aspect of this feminine principle, both in the heart center and in the vaginal area. And we're going to call the male reproductive organ and the pleasure enhancing powerful element, we're going to call it the wand of light. Wand of light. If men are experiencing wand of light problems, then there's mental fears that weaken their masculinity, giving up sexual pressure and guilt, belief in aging, thoughts of loss, thoughts of their masculinity being scarred, right? So women, it's really, really powerful what you can do for your men or for all the men in society. Let me give you an example. You're standing in, I'll give an example of a certain part of the region of the world because I think you can really use this teaching. You're in Beverly Hills. I grew up in that area for 30 years. And you're standing there. You're a lady. And this guy passes by. And he doesn't know you. He just looks at you and he sees you're just dressed up. You look pretty that day or whatever. Or maybe not even pretty. And says, hey, what's up? Do you mind if I hang with you? Oh, you look really sexy today, right? Can I take you out for coffee? Or something along those lines, very casual, but it's in a way that one of those times where you're really going to take this personally. It's as if like, who are you and who do you think I am that you're treating me so cheap to just pass by and without even knowing me, just by my looks, trying to hit on me, right? That whole piece. Now, I want you to pause right there, both for men and women. What occurred here this minute, right now, is a interaction between the divine masculine and divine feminine principles and the selves. But the ego, or the lower parts of us, and the bruised part of us are at work. They can get reactive. So here's the typical way ladies respond. Typical lady response would be back off, jerk. Okay, that's one way. The other one would be just a look where you just turn around and walk away feeling unsafe. Maybe a little level up from that would be, obviously watch your safety here. We're talking about a situation where it is safe to talk, but you're just taking it personally. A level up from that would be where you just nod your head and be like, no, thank you, right? But here is a level where you'll actually enjoy what the universe is bringing you if you want to tap into your feminine, divine energy, ladies. And if you want to encourage men and awaken the collective consciousness of men, including your own man, because you affect other men, you affect your men too. Where you could say something like this, but you got to feel it as you say it, because you got to feel the consciousness behind it. And it would be, what's your name? And the person will be like, my name is Jake. Jake, thank you so much for seeing me and recognizing me as a sexy individual or as an attractive individual. I appreciate that. So here you have a recognition. That means you allow the masculine energy to pass through, regardless if you're going to even say hello, say hi to him 2 minutes from now, ever again. Because it's not about him. It's about the world delivering something to you, an attention. Thank you so much for seeing me in that attractive way. Now, you have several options. I would love to get to know you more. Okay? A little bit more. That's option number one if you feel safe enough. Option number two is I appreciate the attractive way that you look at me. However, I am not interested. Okay, option number two. Now remember, see how the beginning of all this goes when it's non-reactive. The third option is, this is called a redirect. So the first option was the acknowledgement. The second option was a no, a firm yes or a firm no, right? This is where women get into trouble, is because they do this wishy-washy thing and they walk away and they squirm away like that, and the guy is all confused because he's direct, right? The third, and this could happen also in a bar or in a date or in a social setting, or in a, you could be in a community scene. You could be online, virtually this could be happening. The third option is you can say, thank you for seeing me in this attractive way, and thanks for expressing it. I'm not interested to go out with you at this point right now, okay? And then a redirect. The redirect is, I would be interested to speak to you a few more minutes and get to know you. Okay, that's the redirect. This rarely happens because the reactivity shuts it down. And people miss their soulmates because of this many times. So remember that if you're looking to connect deeply, right now, if you're in a relationship, you want to make it deeper, or if you're not in a intimate, connected relationship, but you want to be in one, you're constantly rejecting, especially the feminine force, is constantly rejecting the masculine force by not being aware of the first instant, which is that reactive zone of that decision right there. So you can be inviting more love, sexuality, connection, intimacy into your already existing relationship at home by using this principle daily, because every day there's something that triggers you based on your own past story of how you made up about yourself, that you must be unattractive, or you must be this, or you must be that, or you must be seen as a whore, or you must be, all the stories you tell yourself, right? And remember, men just go along with whatever you give them, because men are simple. They're not that complicated. So you tell the man, hey, you whatever hole, a-hole, like, why are you hitting on me, right? And all he thinks is, well, I guess we're not supposed to really connect with women, right? We're just training men all day long to just have nothing to do with you and stay superficial, right? What do you really want, right? What do you want, Karina? What do you want, Lily? What do you want, Joey? How do you want to relate? So it comes down to this portion right here. Now, the next phase would be either closeness or distance. There's nothing else. Either a yes or no or a redirect, right? And now let's say there's a redirect. The redirect is, let's say the guy wants to give you a hug. You say, no, thank you, but I wouldn't mind a handshake. No, thank you, but let's have a conversation and some coffee right here. Let's go inside. No, thank you. Let's sit right here and have some coffee in public, right? You see the idea? Let's get to know each other over the phone. Let's text first, right? Whatever that thing is for you that allows you to have those slow buildups of connection. Okay, keep that. Now, I want to tell you about a symptom called migraine headaches or even light headaches. I'm not talking about when you're super tired and you just need to sleep, but if you're experiencing it on a regular basis, you've checked your eyes, they're not weak, you don't need like some kind of a change, you're not straining your eyes all day to get headaches. I'm talking about like where you just experience this inner invalidation feeling. It could be very related to sexual fears or fear of being close, letting someone in too close, feeling driven or pressured. And an affirmation that could be healing for you would be, I relax into the flow of life and let life provide all that I need easily and comfortably. I love life. And this can actually help with your menstrual imbalance, which is about rejection of one's femininity, guilt, or feeling dirty. Affirmation, declaration, my bodily processes are a natural part of life. I love and approve of myself. You see, everything is about acceptance. If you don't accept your sexuality, it's the same as not accepting the idea that you need to go to the bathroom and pee. The function is there. It's about you accepting it. And guess what? There's millions of reasons why men and women don't accept their sexuality. It's because of all the things we grew up with, all the beliefs that was given to us. And you might be like, then why the hell do we get all these beliefs? Why do we have to go through it? Why don't we just have good beliefs from the beginning? And the answer is you have the gift of discovering this amazing, awesome technology of the human potential, learning how to work with all the buttons and icons and how it comes with the subconscious, the heart set, the mindset, the soul's higher self. So you can have a beautiful challenge of healing and growth, and more importantly, get to know yourself through the process so you can see how amazing you are. Because imagine if you just bought this iPhone or Android and you never take the time to fix the settings the way you want. You never even learn how to go to the settings, to turn the brightness level to the way you want, to understand how the battery works, to understand how to program the right apps into you, to do the backup. So you're not going to get the most advantage from this, the utmost advantage from this. And the same is true with yourself. You really got to understand the technology of your being, of your soul and your being. Did you know, for example, that there is a technique that I teach in my book and my teachings in my course? This one I'm teaching right now is from Immunity Codes course. But there's another course that I have. It's called the User Manual for Your Brain. And there's a technique that I teach you of how to abhor and run away from excess sugar in cakes to the point that you're totally attracted to healthy foods that you want. And you automatically just simply are abhorred by Pepsi, right? It's not something that you have to say no each time. It's not you look at it and you want it, you have to keep refraining. No, it's a decoding. It's called submodalities. It's where I find all the colors and the thoughts and the feelings you encode, that particular encoding of that food, and we actually remove that and place what you want inside the encoding so you can be attracted to that. Now, you might be like, why do we have to do all this? Well, who programmed me to begin with? That why do I even like this negative stuff? Well, the answer is you programmed yourself. You just don't know it. It happened in a subtle way. You watched that beautiful love show, and in the middle of it, a commercial came for Pepsi where this hot young couple are drinking it, and then your subconscious started to program that if I do the same thing unconsciously, I will also have that pleasure. So somewhere along the way, poison was planted into you as pleasure. And there's a way to decode that. Just like HTML coding for programming, there's a way to decode it. Now, you can't decode the heart with programming because the heart and the mind are two different things. The heart works on passion, intuition, emotions. The mind works on information, subconscious information, and limiting this light of the soul so you can handle it. And my teachings are all about syncing the higher self, understanding the user manual for your brain, learning about your heart center and intuition and the third eye, bringing it into physiology and action steps, and being coached to make it happen, and tapping all of that into wisdom and wealth of life, and not just literal wealth of life, real wealth. Because the moment you realize who you are and your potential, you immediately also truly awaken to the wealth that you deserve to have in order to do that potential. Because you are wealth. Every aspect of your energy produces wealth. It turns your light energy into physical money. So if you think money is dirty, then it's another belief, because money is not clean or dirty. It just is. Just like the cup is there, just like your hair, just like my fingers, just like everything else that exists. But we gave it an unneutral value. We gave it beliefs and values and connections somehow based on our experiences. And this is why I have this powerful exercise where it's called in my book, Divine Prescription for Money, it's an exercise where you write a letter to money, and you have money write a letter back to you, and you notice there's a relationship of all the things that occurred. People tell me as soon as they wrote a letter to money, for some reason, it was their dad talking through all the times that gave them pleasure or nervousness about money, right? So there's associations there. These exercises are powerful, and we do them in the group. For those of you who are interested in deeper realms, and if you feel your soul connects with what I'm teaching, then you might want to message me, and I can invite you to one of my VIP sessions to experience it as a gift. It's a $500 gift that I would give to anyone that's watching this video on the replay or live. And you can experience a 2-hour session together with an intimate group and see how it feels for you to do live, active, focused transformation. Okay? Okay. So as we're getting to the completion of this session, I want to read some more deep ancient wisdom. Likutei midivrei chachamim v'chidutam, wisdom from the sages. Aleph, the first one. Hamistapek bechalko, someone who has restriction, happy with their portion, meaning they're not always obsessively looking for more, which makes you unhappy. Chofshi, gains liberation, freedom. V'hachofshi hu eved, but as soon as you are free, you're a slave. How? How so? How is it that as soon as you're free, you're a slave? What kind of a work is this? What kind of mentality is this? Let me pour some tea to make sure that I balance my energy in my throat because I'm speaking a lot. So let me make sure I remain moist. My mouth so I could speak better. Okay, so we said as soon as you're free, you're a slave. Because you have the chance of seeking more than your universal law of what you need. Okay. Now we have elsewhere, the teaching teaches us 3,000-year-old wisdom all the way directly from Moses and Aaron. Teaching tells us Ein ben chorin ela mi she'osek b'Torah. That this is another one of those corrupted teachings that we have to understand. What does it mean, really? So much corruption. All the English translations are corruptions because it's very hard to understand this cryptic, coded language. There is no free person, no liberated person, except a person who studies Torah. Okay, Torah means teachings from the light. What does that mean? Now we know Torah means consciousness of the light. It means co-creating with the light, getting closer to the light, acting like the light. Mahu rachum afata rachum. Just like he's merciful, the light is merciful, you should also be merciful. Mahu, just like he knows how to do restriction, the light knows how to restrict and hold back so you can grow on your own, you should also learn how to do that. So it's not always about sharing, it's also about withholding, right? So you can avoid giving people bread of shame so they can grow on their own. The balance between sharing and receiving, which is Tiferet, the heart center, represented by the idea of Jacob, the Sphira of Tiferet. We've learned that in the fundamentals of Kabbalah. So, where do we get the freedom from? And here is the point. And this connects directly with your divine masculine feminine energy, with your mental alertness, with your pre-menstrual cycle, with the energy, with how to restrict so you can have more light and more sexual pleasure, all of that. Here's how it goes. The lamp, okay, is made up of a plus principle, positive principle, a negative principle, and there's a grounding also in some cases. But the lamp itself has a plus and a minus before it becomes a lamp. Now, if you take the plus and hit it to the minus, what happens? You get a high amount of light, but then you get huge sparks and then a short circuit because you took the plus and hit it to the minus without restriction. How do you get a lamp to give you lasting light? How does electricity produce it with a lamp? Well, inside the bulb, you have a plus and a minus, but they're not actually touching. There's this little thin conductor, so to speak, or filament that doesn't allow the plus and minus to directly touch. It creates this thin, restricted zone where a specific amount of current can pass through, and that creates light, a lamp. Question is why? Why don't we just hit it together? Well, you know, if you hit it together, you get a high voltage of explosive energy and then a short circuit. Why? Because the universal principles are designed in a way that every time you show restriction, you actually receive more light. Every time you're about to connect, you're sitting with the person you think you might want to go to the next level with, and you're at dinner. And you've asked her out to dinner, and you sit down and you look into her eyes. And then as soon as you look into her eyes, you kind of get turned on and now you want to go to bed. But then you restrict for a moment, you stop. You stop for a moment and you strengthen this connection through looking into her eyes on a deeper level. You pause for a moment and you talk about some element to get to know each other better. She pauses for a moment and she says, let's wait, right? Women are natural restrictors, right? Now you get to know her more. Now you make a commitment or of some sort. You come closer to her lips. You feel the pleasure of your lips touching each other, but you don't go for that direct kiss yet. You're just touching that friction of that barely electric energy coming together, and you separate and you do it again, and you separate and you do it again. And you bring your lips next to her neck and just kiss down from her neck all the way to her chest, but you stop. Now, what's going on over here? There's electric energy going on over here, obviously with consent and if you're both liking this. But you're also slowing down the process, which means the restriction is building more light, more desire, more foreplay, so to speak. The same as heaven and earth, right? With the rain and the earth, right? It takes months for these plants to grow, right? And as you're doing this, you're also practicing not rushing in, especially for the male hormones. Like you literally let this energy run through all your chakras, all the sefirot in your body, and then you stop, and then you bring it back. More and more pleasure, but you're not out there for the finished line goal. You're just enjoying the process, becoming more like the feminine principle. And the feminine principle is getting more attracted because they're saying, wow, this man has self-control. Because what is attraction? Attraction is self-control, right? When you can run the system and you're in control of it, Mashiach rochev al chamor, Messiah rides on a donkey, meaning the Messiah can control its urges, direct it like laser energy when necessary with your beam of light, with your wand of light. Then when you're in that zone and your laser energy ends up at some point with making love, with complete sexual connection, where your wand enters her vessel fully, because all the senses have been awakened, because there's an emotional connection, because there's a security that feels nice and beautiful from all the different senses that are awakened. Give you a minute to take that in. something magical happens. Now, you have more of a connection. There's more exchange of energy. There's more trust. And you both learn to say yes, no, and restrict. And you both feel safe that either one of you can stop for a moment. And you're both also bypassed the lust section into self-control and more of a love section. Now, this is easier said than done because we know we have urges. We know people many times we want to run away from our problems, we hop into sexuality. We want to run away from our sadness, we hop into sexuality. We want to avoid getting closer and intimate so it doesn't bring up stuff, we hop into sexuality. So, or we drink and then we don't even know where we ended up. But you can have so much more pleasure if you start awakening all your senses, your brain, your eyes, your heart, your throat, your being. In a way that by the time you get to the lower organs, even though that's a great level of pleasure, but it could be actually that sometimes that could be the least of your pleasures because your whole body is experiencing a full awakening. That's an awakening with your wand of light for men and with your vessel for the ladies. Yes, Lily, Karina, Joey, and everyone watching this on the replay. Practice restriction. Practice creating this wonderful foreplay between the divine masculine, divine feminine energy. If you're just meeting someone, that's fine. Practice that game. Enjoy the ebb and flow of this fun game. If you're closer, then enjoy it in your home. If you're in every aspect, you can enjoy this. You're about to make a shake with your blender and you taste it in a fun way and you play with it. Foreplay all day long. Even your prayer with the Creator is foreplay. Everything is foreplay. Everything is here to turn you on more and more and more. Now, there are some ladies, there are some men that are just turned off. Like no matter how much you try, they're just turned off. Turned off means, I'm not talking about mechanical issues. I'm talking about like emotionally from the heart or the feelings in the body have been just turned off from many years of either being emasculated or inattentiveness or lack of love or bad beliefs or breakups or hurt, right? It's painful. How do we awaken that? How do we reawaken that? And the answer is you got to start somewhere. There's a discomfort point that you got to start off at. And I'm going to do a special prayer to awaken that. This prayer is from the book of Psalms. I'm going to translate it in the uncorrupted way. It's about forgiveness, self-forgiveness, really forgiving yourself. King David HaMelech says, you know, David was never supposed to be born, so he's very grateful. That's why he wrote the book of Psalms, hallelujah, meaning praise, connection, recognition of all the gifts he got. In the Tehillim section Kuf Gimel, for Thursday's section, Sefer Revi'i in the 4th book, he says, in Pasuk Tet, 9th verse, Lo lanetzach yariv, velo leolam yitor. That the divine light does not hold back light forever and does not seek vengeance or lack of forgiveness or, I guess, revenge forever or at all. But it does show us as if it is, so we can repent. Lo kechata'enu asalanu. The divine light does not repeat back to you the same as your own errors and mistakes and so-called sins As it doesn't crush you because you crush someone. Rather, it wants to teach you a lesson with the light, to awaken you to the true consciousness so you can freely give love with joy and framework. Remember, this love thing is a very dangerous word because you have to know where to properly place your energy. Velo ka'avanotenu gamal aleinu. Ki chigvoha shamayim al aretz, gavar chasto al yerav. Ki yirchok mizrach mima'arav, hirchik mimenu et peshaenu. To the same extent that the east is far from the west, the Creator's light keeps distancing us and our true identity from our fallen identity that really causes us harm. Kirachev av albanim, just like a father has mercy and love and compassion on their children. Richem Adonai al yerav. Adonai, that powerful superconscious reality of the Godhead, has mercy and compassion on those who are consciously aware of this light. Kihu yada yitzreinu, because the light, the ultimate light, knows our inner being, our functioning, our pulls and triggers, and our negativity. Zachor ki afar anachnu. And the light knows that deep inside our bodies are from earthly beings, but our soul is not, and therefore we're going to have the challenge, so we can forgive ourselves. Enosh kechatzir yamav, a person's life is like plowing. Ketzitz hasadeh ken yatzitz. And knows that our physical body is like a flower in the field, that it's subtle. Ki ruach avrabo, because a wind can come, ve'eineno, and it's not there all of a sudden. Velo yakirenu od mekamo, and it doesn't know its place anymore. It starts to fly around, and thoughts and mental chatter. So beautiful. V'chesed Adonai me'olam, but the kindness of the higher soul is forever, eternal. Ve'ad olam al yirav, and forever for those especially who are conscious of it. Ve'tzidkato livnei vanim, and its tzedek, its justice and equilibrium is for all the generations to come. Now, this is a lot of codes and secrets here. It's also saying that if you never got a chance to consciously absorb in your lifetime what you need to absorb, then your children will get the karma of experiencing it until your seed experiences it. So that's another kindness that the Creator gives, a continuity until you can experience it. Leshomrei brito, to those who guard the light's covenant, who connect deeper and guard the covenant, want to share that. Ulezochrei pikudav la'asotam, and those who remember those vessels of equilibrium and the foundations of it to make it practical in the world, that the Creator has a different kind of kindness for them in order to make the mission possible. Adonai gives them tools. Adonai bashamayim hechin kis'o. Even though Adonai, the higher consciousness, supernatural Godhead, Yud Ke Vav Ke, that was revealed originally with that name to Moses, even though the metaphysical 99% reality has its throne in the higher self, umalchuto bakol mashallah, but its level of self-mastery, of achieving, overcoming, really tapping into your potential, even though it's challenging, is available for all to rule over. Now the book says, the book of Psalms, Baruchu Adonai Malachav, the angels bless Adonai, Giburei Koach Oseh Devaro, they are powerful strengthening missions that do perfect tasks. As the words come out, as the words of the Creator is uttered, it's done, right? It's like no time, space, and motion. Lishmoa be'ol devaro, to truly deeply hear the voice of the inner words. Baruchu Adonai kol tzva'av, Bless Adonai Yud-Keh Vav-Keh with all its legions. Meshartav Oseh Retzano. Baruchu Adonai Kol Ma'asav B'chol Mekomot Memshalto. And the works and the creation of all the elements of the action steps of Adonai automatically is blessing its source continuously and regrowing. Barchi nafshi et Adonai, and so does my soul bless when it becomes conscious, obviously, all the amazing gifts, but only if we can see it. Okay. So we have a lot here. And for those of you who are going to gain from this, you're already gaining, as you know what I mean. Now I'm going to complete this session. I want to complete it, but it's like so beautiful that I couldn't stop. I'm going to complete this session with a section of, now I'm not going to read in Hebrew, I'm going to read in Aramaic, which is a different language, which is a secret code to angels. From the book of the Zohar, I'm going to read for you. This is how it looks. Okay. I opened up to a page 22. Amar lech tachazi b'shata de'ihu akar kedusha l'nafshe. But just by hearing these words, by the way, it will penetrate to your subconscious. It's good for you. So even if you don't understand, it's fine, because it actually bypasses the fuzz of the brain. Amar lei tachazi b'shata de'ihu akar kedusha l'nafshe v'sharya be'atre hahu elzar de'ikri tameh iste abarnash v'sa'ib laman de'qariv v'hadei v'hi kedusha akarat minei. This section is giving us the vaccine, so to speak, for healing and blessing, and more importantly, to be able to get out of our own way, to get out of our own impurities and bring the light of purity, light of Kedusha, light of holiness, whole being experience. And once again, like I said, if your mind and your heart and your whole being doesn't hop in, some part is going to complain because it wants your whole being to be involved. And so I will complete this session. Once again, my name is Shahin Jedian, creator of 42 books and films. Soul Code Doctor, Dr. soulcodedoctor.com if you need more information about me to see where I come from in the past 40 years of this development. I do come from a direct line of Moses and Aaron from 3,000 years ago. I was exiled from Israel maybe about 2,000 years ago, lived in Paras in Iran for 2,000 years with my parents. My father actually was born in the same city of the gravesite of Mordechai and Esther, the story of, there's a movie called One Night with the King, you can see more about that. And Esther was a great teacher that was reincarnation of Joseph, the prophet, and Sarah, Abraham's wife. So I'm here to teach you direct teachings from Abraham's teachings, Moses' teachings, with this line, and I'm here to empower, help you, assist you to connect with the essence of your own soul in your own unique way. And this is beyond religion. This is universal teachings for every single soul. My intention is to discover you, understand your soul code through your name and your being and your essence, and help direct you and mentor you into a space where you can teach yourself more and more about who you are with the right tools. Many of us are misdirected. We need more powerful teachings. And I've been blessed to be able to do that with you, been graced by the Creator's light. Thank you. And if you want to connect deeper, write a message, text me on wherever you're watching this, message me personally. Highly recommend you say hello here, write something, so you could show your gratitude of what you learned and share with others, so others know you were present too. And show yourself that you did something by putting something into action. I also recommend that you, if you want more of these teachings, if you want more of these learnings, first Sunday, Bli Neder, God willing, with God's help, first Sunday of each month at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, will appear here again, and 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And in the East, like in the Eastern countries, it'll be around 8 p.m. So again, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can tune in on the first Sunday of every English month, okay? And once again, blessings and lots of love to you. Big hugs and a whoosh of love. God bless.